Hey, horse racing enthusiasts, this is John. Today is Wednesday of Preakness week. We got the post positions for the Derby. There are going to be 8 runners. Only one horse is running back from the Kentucky Derby, and that is the Kentucky Derby winner, Mage. And I think Mage has a good shot. Obviously, you know, the 2-week turnaround is a competitive disadvantage because the other horses are playing with, you know, in some cases 3 and more weeks rest. So. But at any rate, I wanted to go through the horses, show you a little bit about the odds calculation that I was coming up with, show you the morning line, and give you a little hint about what I'm thinking. So I'm going to flip the screen around, and we can take a quick look at what we... All right, hopefully this is coming in a little bit. I'll bring that up a little bit. Okay, so post position 1, we have National Treasure, West Coast horse, the return of Bob Baffert. So this will be a very curious thing to watch. Has been a good producer, although, you know, those of you who have watched these videos before, grade 1, grade 2 wins, grade 3 wins. Red means, you know, it's a competitive disadvantage. So, you know, we're going to watch with a little skepticism here. Speed and highest speed rating and track variant, you know, that comparison, that's the best. So, you know, this horse that belongs in the discussion has a little front speed, tends to want to run in this front. So coming from the 1 hole, we may see them turning on a little bit. I believe it's Johnny V is the jockey. Yep, Johnny V is the jock. Quality Road is the sire. And, you know, it looks like good pedigree. My comments are, it hasn't won a graded stakes, right? That's a big thing for me. And limited competition out in the West Coast, right? And I know some people take exception with that comment, but that's kind of how I feel. So there you go. Number 2 is Chase the Chaos. Highest buyer is really a 53 closer type. So, you know, as we saw with Rich Strike in the Kentucky Derby a couple of events ago. You know, it has a puncher's chance. Can it handle the distance? I'm going to say maybe. I see some, you know, performance at like a mile, a little bit better than a mile and a 16th, and a mile, in this case, 3/16. So we have some troubles, you know, maybe some troubles there. I'm not 100% sure yet. I don't know pedigrees as well as I should. No graded stakes wins. 6 lengths out on the last race. That's a big issue for me. And, you know, we have the jockey is Russell. Mojer is the trainer. And in essence, I have a summary here. No graded stakes wins. Highest speed is 83. Limited competition. Runs best on all purpose, right? So a lot of caveats there. It's looking like a toss to me, but, you know, we're going to continue to watch, and we'll come closer towards the end of the week with what our specific picks are. Before we go much further, I wanted to show you a little bit on the odds of the first 2 columns here. So as we've talked about in my initial stab at it, which, you know, it was good to go through it. But there were a lot of changes, and you can see these changes here. Henry Q ran last week. Instant Coffee didn't enter. Confidence Game was a little bit off his game, not bouncing back. And then Disarm decided not to go forward with it. So I had to change the odds calculation, at least my odds calculation. And so what I do in this first column is really set this to 100, right? And then I use a mathematical formula here to derive the odds. Basically, convert this to tenths, to decimals. So in this case, 0.10, 0.03, 0.4, etc. And then what we do is we take, in the numerator, we'll take parentheses 1 divided by the decimal equivalent of this calculation, close parentheses minus 1. So that gives us the odds. So this column right here, these are the odds that I'm calculating. You know, we should see how that, you know, it does match up pretty good. So if we look at it, you know, Mage, who we just talked about, you know, 105 in the Kentucky Derby, distance, can he handle it? Yeah, he's cutting back, so he should be able to handle it. His last finish was a Derby finish, and he won and win 368 on the Thompson. He looks like a solid horse in this. The only thing is like this is the 5th race for this year, right? The horse started running in January. So this will be the 5th race. That's, a little concerning. Let's keep an eye on that. And then Javier in Delgado, the jockey trainer. Good Magic, Big Brown, nice pedigree. And mid-pack in the Kentucky Derby, good turn of foot, closed well, passed in the stretch, and then went on to win. So very nice. So back to the odds calculation. I set Mage at winning 40. If they ran this exact race with these exact participants, if they ran this for 100 times, I set Mage to win 40 of those. Now, what I'm really like is the morning line, so the track odds calculator is coming up with 1.60 so to 1, and I have 1.5 to 1. So I think I did a good job there. Where I fell off it a little bit, they have Chased the Chaos at 50 to 1. I have it at 32. So I might have to refine this a little bit. I set it to 3 wins out of 100. Maybe that was giving them too much, so we'll see. Coffee with Chris, 88 speed figure, no graded stakes. The Thomason is the lowest at 295. I'm not really feeling it on this horse. I like the pedigree, but highest speed figure is 88, no graded wins, limited competition, right? So I'm a little hesitant to go with, Coffee with Chris. Red Route 1, those of you who watch the channel know that I like Red Route 1. He was one of my Derby future bets that, he'd end up not running the Derby, so, went unfulfilled, to say the least. I had him set at 15 wins per 100 times running this race. That comes to an odds calculation of 5.67% to 1. The morning line has him at 10. Here's the thing with this guy. His last race, he comes from the clouds, right? No graded stakes wins. So if I'm being fair, even though I like him, he hasn't won a graded stakes yet. He's come close, but he hasn't won. This is his 5th race this year. Asmussen's the trainer. Good Tomlinson figure for the distance. Rebel was the 3rd. He had a recent allowance win. This was like a week or 2 before the Derby, so he hasn't run in 3 or 4 weeks. So he's in pretty good shape. I would say this. Watch Red Route 1 in the event of rain. I see 60% chance of rain during the race. Right now, maybe that changes. Red Route 1 is going to be coming from the clouds, and he runs well on dirt. On mud. So let's keep him in the back of our mind. Perform, good last race. Was a stakes race, a minor stakes race, I think, at Laurel. I had him at winning 4 out of 100, 24 to 1. Morning line, people have him at 15. So a little discrepancy there. I'm maybe not giving him as much credit as he should. No graded stakes wins. He won his last race. It was a minor stakes race. Also, this Coffee with Chris was in the same race. Lynch is his jockey, and I am crazy stakes win. So he came out of the clouds as well. Good closer. $250K on the Keeneland 2021 auction. So, he has the pedigree, and a lot of people, thought he was good. He may be good. I think he doesn't have the experience yet, but I'm gonna hold back a little bit. Next we have number 7, Blazing Sevens. Morning percent, I had 8 wins out of 100. Comes to 11.5 to 1. A morning line has him a little better than that. Again, I'm being a little critical. I question whether he wants this distance. He's a closer. His speed track variant is okay. It's not great. It's not bad. He has 1 grade 1 win. I think it was the Champagne. He did all right. He came in 6 lengths out the last race. I don't like that. Last race was the I don't know what the acronym is there, so we'll come back on you on that in the next video. This will be his 3rd race, so not over raced. Gets Irad, that's a green. Chad Brown is the trainer. He's coming in with some rest. Good Magic, good sire. He won in the slop as well. So that's our slop horses right here. So Red Route 1 and Blazing Sevens look pretty good in the slop. And then we have First Mission. Really good last race. I think it was the Lexington in Keeneland. I have him set at 15 wins out of 100. That's probably a little light as well. 5.6 to 1, 6.7 to 1. Morning line has him at 250. So won a graded through grade 3 with a win. Good Tomlinson. Respectable speed versus track variant. Saez, great jock. Cox is the trainer. Had an impressive win. You got to keep him in there. So let me just, before I flip back to the picture. So here's what I'm really looking at right now. We have here's my ranking of the horses right now in my estimation. Right, Mage, First Mission, Red Route 1, Red Route 1, National Treasure, and then Blazing Sevens. Right, that's sort of what I feel like. I don't know if that's the specific order. That's kind of how I'm feeling about these horses. These two are drops for me. I'm gonna hold off on what I'm watching for, but these are Perform. I'm kind of dropping as well. So I got 3 drops out of the 8. Here are the 5 that I'm focusing on. The bets that I'm gonna focus on are I'll probably do a win bet, although remains to be seen. But what I want to do is, let me come back to you guys a little bit on this. Okay, I'll talk to the bets. Okay, so when we come into the Saturday, I want to do a live stream on maybe as we get close to the race, maybe in the morning. But at any rate, if we do come close, as we come close to the race, I'm going to try to find an overlay according to my calculations of the odds, and then bet that overlay as a win, right? So it's not going to necessarily be Mage, although I feel like maybe Mage will be the winner, right? It could be Blazing Sevens, because the odds are showing me that's probably the most leverageable overlay in the crowd. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, but that was an example. So I'll do a win bet. I'll do an exacta bet. I already have a good friend who just had a baby, and her beautiful baby girl, and her weight was 7 pounds 3 ounces. So I'm going to do a 7-3 exacta in tribute to that, the birth of his daughter. And talk about going through all the fancy calculations, and then you just take a bet. But an old-time gambling friend, grandfather type figure for me, used to take it back in the days when you didn't have, you couldn't go to your app, and you couldn't go cross country to make your bets on your app. Would go to the bookie, and he would bet babies' weights all the time. So there's a history there with me and with that. At any rate. Okay, so that was the exacta. We'll probably do a try, but I really think the money's going to be in these things. Daily double, including the Black-Eyed Susan, which is the female equivalent of the Preakness and Preakness race, right? Whatever they call that. Black-Eyed Susan, Preakness double. I'm not sure what they call it. And then probably do a pick 3 and a pick 5. I think that's where you're going to have your money. That's where it's going to be the focus. And I think that's. The win is probably not going to be where the money is in this race. It's just too few competitors. So, what does it look like again? It looks to me like Mage has the speed, has the experience. Maybe he's run too much. That's going to be the caveat. So Mage, First Mission, good last race. Can he progress? Lightly run. So, we don't know what we're going to get. Red Route 1, particularly if he's going to be closing, going to be becoming hard. Mile and 3/16, he should be closing pretty well. If it's muddy, you look out for that. The front horses are going to get tired. National Treasure was run well on the West Coast. I'm a little West Coast leery, but we got Baffert back in the big picture here, so let's keep him in our minds there. And then Blazing Sevens. If it's raining, he might be the horse. So that's where we are right now as of Wednesday. Look for 2 things. One, we're going to refine this a little bit. I'll give you a little bit more color on this, either Thursday or Friday. I will get out to you what my Black-Eyed Susan picks are, and then what sort of double we could be looking for with the Black-Eyed Susan Preakness. And then look for a follow-up to my most successful video. I say that very humbly. I have a video which was talked about how to own a racehorse with little money down, and it's getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,400 views. And we're going to have a follow-up to that video over the next 2 days. There's some interesting things in going on in the industry. I think if you're watching the industry, there's obviously a lot of concern. We had a lot of breakdowns in the weeks leading up to the Kentucky Derby. We had a lot of publicity regarding some trainers, including Robertina Diodoro being suspended. Of course, you have Baffert coming off suspension as it relates to the Derby and back into the Triple Crown races. And, we have Safi Joseph Jr. Being suspended in Kentucky. I do see that he has been racing in other jurisdictions, so interesting. So there's a lot of publicity going on. I had been critical regarding NBC's broadcast. I didn't think they talked about what are some of the things in the industry that are going on, and how can we sustain this industry? How can we grow this industry? At the end of the day, I have some thoughts on it, and I'm going to leave you with this one thing. During the NBC broadcast, I don't know how many folks took note of this, but NBC had Matthew Berry, who's famous for running sort of ESPN's fantasy football desk. And they had him doing the gambling section on and he basically came clean and said, I don't know anything about horse racing. And I think that was curious, and it made me start thinking about how do we grow this industry with the youth and and how do you get younger people involved, and it kind of made me think, like, a logical conclusion is NBC kind of tailoring this so that Matthew Berry starts to do some fantasy regarding horse racing. So I don't know, it may be a complete guess, but I was very curious by it. I think it could work. There's some ideas that I have as it relates to it, and we'll talk more about that as time goes on. But again, another exciting week. A lot of good still to do, but those were the picks. Again, Mage First Mission, Red Route 1, National Treasure, and Blazing Sevens. And we'll go from there. All right. Good luck at the track, and we'll speak tomorrow. Thanks, horse race enthusiasts. Be well.